What is up, you guys? Marty McFly coming at you, bringing you guys the merch. Sitting here with Reginald. Just got back from a wonderful, wonderful weekend trip to my original hometown of Melbourne, Florida. Great people, great town, great city. You know, really is just like a wonderful, quiet, safe place, and love it. Big part of who I am today. So, a little bit of a trip, a little bit of a study trip. I had some work to do. We had a bunch of stuff going on. But at least I got to take a couple of little mini adventures to visit some old stomping grounds. I visited the 518 Underground, great skate record, punk skate shop, whatever you want to call it. It's just classic Melbourne, Florida. Great place for great place for punk, hardcore. They got CDs, they got vinyl, they have a huge 7-inch collection. A lot of stuff from like Decor records. They got a lot of Minor Threat. They got a lot of they have a decent metal section now in the U stuff. They got, Tooth and Nail by Dokken. They got some OG Iron Maiden stuff. Great shop. We'll have that coming up in the video waiting for you guys. And then we have Beachside Retro. Really great. Just, it's exactly what it is. It's just a retro shop, man. They have some great stuff in there. Now, it is interesting seeing them now versus the way it used to be, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, a couple years ago I went in there when they first opened up, and it might have been in a different location too, but they had some vinyl, but it was all new. It was really expensive, and it wasn't like anything like to shake a stick about. It was all the same stuff you see in any garden variety store. It looked like a Target Walmart selection, to be honest with you. It was mostly just like the Beatles and Tori Amos and maybe one Metallica album, but really nothing to shake home, bring home to mom. And then now, they've really become this super eclectic retro shop, and it's just a gold mine of little great gems in there. I even picked up one thing, but I could have spent a lot more money in there and spent a lot more time in there, but coming up in the video, I'll show you guys what that place is looking like. But you walk in, and it's literally like stepping out into a 1990s, 1980s treasure trove, between the little miniature living room that they have set up in there and the VHS players. They got a jukebox. They got ColecoVision. They have an Atari with all the old Atari games. They even have an 8-track. But by the way, we don't need to go back to the 8-track stuff, but they do have 8-track stuff in there. I think they have a Michael Jackson 8-track in there. Pretty cool cassette collection. Lots of CDs, lots of old vinyl for $1 and $2. They even had an Acacia Strain EP that I really wanted, but they wanted a small fortune for it. So if you remember, we're going back only at least a decade, I think. But when Acacia Strain released Above and Below, the 2-song EP with the rat on it, it's a phenomenal EP. Both songs are fantastic. That was on, a 7-inch vinyl, and they had that in there. I was like, oh, I really want this. But they wanted 40 bones for it. And I was like, nah, I don't need it that bad. I'll just go play the 2 songs that I bought on my iTunes music account when they came out. And I mean, they're phenomenal songs, but $40 for 7-inch is nah, I'm good. But the retro stuff they have in there is outstanding. They have some comics. They got a lot of VHSs. They even have a glass vault of some of their expensive VHSs, which blew me away. I didn't realize the old VHSs I used to play all the time are worth things. They're expensive now, because apparently there's a whole generation of people that were never exposed to that. And so now it's cool again to collect them. I was like, that's cool, man. I would love to have my old VHS player now. We do have some of our old VHSs. We got the Godzillas. We got some old Disneys. We got Jaws. We got Halloween. So we do have some stuff. I didn't realize how much that stuff was going for anyway, at least nowadays. But it's pretty cool. Pretty rad shop. I didn't get a chance to go to Savvy Vinyl this time, but Savvy Vinyl is another great record store. They have usually some pretty good stuff in there. They know what they're selling, so the prices are, I'd say, accurate. So maybe what you'd pay online without the shipping. So they know what they have in there. They have some really good gems. They also have some consignment stuff. They have a couple of vendors that go to Europe and pick up Iron Maiden and Paradise Lost and all these vinyl from Europe, and they bring them back, and then they'll sell them at a premium. But Savvy Vinyl is another great record shop. One of my favorite coffee shops. They're Melbourne guys. They're satellite guys, but Villon Coffee, great surf and skate shop. Phenomenal coffee. They just opened up their second branch in downtown Melbourne, and they're paired up with Beachfly Brewing now, which Beachfly Brewing used to be in Indian Harbor, and now they're down over towards the Cape. But just, it's really cool to watch this place grow up, man. I don't live there I don't live there anymore. No one I know lives down there anymore. I don't know anybody. But it is cool to go back and just retrace our footsteps. So great town, great people. And coming up at the end of the video, I'll show you what we got. guys? We're back from a very, very wonderful trip to Melbourne, Florida. Great record stores, great people, great breweries, a lot of great stores, a lot of great Halloween hunting we're starting to get. You know, I don't know how you guys are, but I started Halloween hunting as early as May, because usually in May you already got Hobby Lobby, which I've been to quite a few times already, and then we got things like Cracker Barrel, which starts pumping it into June and July. At Home is usually the other one that's really, really early. I mean, At Home is like May 31st, boom, Halloween stuff out. Michael's, the Undisputed Champs, were out super early this year. We already had fall at the end of May, which even for Michael's was early, but I'm all about it. So, I mean, you know, At Home, we got Hobby Lobby, we got Michael's. Now, Cracker Barrel, they always start in July, and their Halloween section was already out, even last week. And it's phenomenal, and of course that's a part of the video that you guys just watched. So I'm really glad to see the Halloween season really spiking out the way it is right now. There's so many things out this year that I already want. I mean, the Nightmare Before Christmas blanket alone, which I know my girlfriend is she loves blankets. That's already big, high on her list, so I told her I was gonna snag that for her. They have a new version of the Haunted Castle with the different window frames on it, as you can see in the video. I have the one from a couple years ago. Still love that thing. I love the sound and the song that it plays, and the projector lights. Now this one actually has a moving face with teeth and everything. Really, they've done a great job. And Cracker Barrel, I think their Halloween section's actually expanded this year, because now they have this really beautiful autumn set that's coming out. And on top of the autumn set, you have like a Scooby-Doo section, you have a Nightmare Before Christmas section, and then you have the general Halloween section. They've done a phenomenal job as always. So happy spooky season, everybody. I mean, for me, spooky season starts in May. Like I said before, I know technically spooky season, whatever, the day after 4th of July. But in all reality, most of us celebrate all year long. So I did make a couple of trips in Melbourne, Florida to some record stores and some other stuff. And, you know, I just wanted to take a second to talk about a band that I picked up from there before. And this is Days Spent, Tourist. And it's just such a, I don't know how you want to call it. It is such a Melbourne type band. You know, we used to have Little Reggie's, Melbourne JC's. Now we got the 518 Underground and Respectables. We got Iron Oak. You know, there's a lot of small clubs that play hardcore punk and metal. And this is such a Melbourne band. And I mean, you know, I don't remember exactly where all of them are from in general, but the theme of it, and then just their style of heavy metal, metalcore, is so Melbourne, Florida to me. Growing up, you know, we had bands like Everett, we had Bravo Armada, which were a bunch of friends of mine, high school band, phenomenal. Those guys were on their way to getting signed by a record label, and then they all broke up because they were like, oh shoot, we have to go to college and stuff. But really, I miss those guys so much. And A Fool's Conspiracy was another great one. Killing the Caesar, I think it was called Kill the Caesar, was my friend Chris's band. So we had Melbourne style metalcore, and it really is, and these guys remind me a little bit of what we used to grow up with. Now I would say the vocals are tough because you either like it or you don't. I really enjoyed it. I don't think it sounds very good on the phone, I'll be honest with you. Put it on a regular speaker system like in your car or on Spotify and really take a second. So it's a female front-led band, really screechy, high-pitched screams, reminiscent of Knocked Loose type of vocals. So you already know if you like it or you don't. So if you don't like Knocked Loose, you may not like her vocals, but I think putting on a bigger speaker system, I really, really enjoyed it. And the theme, you know, it's called the band is called Days Spent, but the album called Tourist is basically you know, screw people that are tourists that are assholes that come to our beaches and pollute and they make a mess of the beach. They leave their trash everywhere. They play really obnoxious freaking music. Yeah, I'm at the beach. Why wouldn't I want to listen to the ocean waves crashing and the birds when I can listen to your crappy music? That's kind of what the theme of some of this is. And I mean, being in Florida, I don't really care where you're from. I could really care less. All right, cool. You're from insert country or state or territory here. I don't care. Just be nice, and when you're on the beach, don't feed the seagulls, don't leave your trash over, don't smoke next to everybody, don't play your garbage music. I go to the beach because I want to relax, I want to surf, I want to paddle out. But when I'm down, you know, if you want to play music on your phone that's next to your head, fine. But don't bring the freaking double wide speakers and blast. I don't want to hear that crap. And don't pollute our beaches, and just be nice. So anyway, it's kind of the theme of what this is all about. But it's pretty cool just seeing hey, I mean, it's it's Melbourne style metal. It's the best way I can explain it. Anyway, they still have a bunch of copies of this left at 5198 Underground. If you haven't been there before, I definitely recommend it. Now, this I picked up at Beachside Retro, Beachside Retro Vinyl Records, and of course you got to see a little bit of that video. It's like an entire store dedicated to like retro everything, which could be like kind of corny when it's done really poorly. But this was like they have a living room set up dedicated to, the VHS, the ColecoVision, the Atari. Like this store is really like, I wouldn't call it. Yeah, I would. I would call it a bit of an anachronism because like they are what they are, but they're not. They are letting you know that this is a retro store and we actually have the real stuff. We're not calling it retro and selling overpriced, recently made stuff. No, they're selling old stuff, and some of it can be expensive because it's popular again. But anyway, this is where I found this. Now, if you're not familiar with this band, this is As Lions, rising from the ashes from a band called Rise to Remain. And Rise to Remain is the lead singer Austin Dickinson, which is Bruce Dickinson, Iron Maiden's son. When this album came out, I didn't know what to expect initially because Rise to Remain, I think, put out one of the best heavy metal albums of the century. And to go from what they did to this, it wasn't bad, but it was just a shock because I think Rise to Remain had something very special and they didn't last long enough. And it's really unfortunate because this is just a phenomenal... When Rise to Remain was a phenomenal recipe, and I was so bummed when they broke up and Austin said, hey, we're As Lions now, and we sound completely different. Now, here's like the cover, excuse the ring light, As Lions. Got a bunch of decent tracks on here. And Raw Power Management. So, let me talk about this to talk about that. Rise to Remain, they were... How do I say this? This was basically new wave of American heavy metal paired with modern metalcore and like 80s thrash and then like a little bit of new album. It was everything I wanted in a metal band all at once. And if you want an idea of what it sounds like, imagine Killswitch Engage and Barry Tomorrow's type guitar leads. Vocals with like maybe that of like Accept. I would say like pitch wise, maybe like Accept or kind of like that era. It's like it almost like his dad. I mean Austin, almost like Bruce Dickinson style vocals. Maybe not as operatic and really just like but I would say on the maybe even like Savage Messiah type vocals. A little bit of Sabotage. I would say is a really good middle ground for how his vocals are. So I mean, sound wise, a little bit of like John Oliva from Sabotage, maybe Savage Messiah style, but then the melodies were really like It Dies Today. That's the only way I can explain it. Really beautiful, soaring, moving guitar melodies in the background that never stop moving. Really intricate guitar work, a million things going on at the same time, and then these just like perfect vocals that are kind of slower than the guitar melodies, and they just go and soar over them. Really like It Dies Today, early Killswitch, later on Shadows Fall, kind of like new wave of American heavy metal, and then Bury Tomorrow all at once, and then you have this with amazing guitar work. And that first record, Rise to Remain, I thought this is going to be the next big band that just slays everybody because they played at Warped Tour when that record came out. I think the record's called Vultures. And when that record came out, I was like, this is going to be the band that just eclipses everyone else. And then they broke up, and they became this. So this comes out, and we get the first track. I'm like, all right, the first track's different. There's really no guitar work. It's really just power chords and then chugs and AOR, radio rock, a little bit of Disturbed. They were really reminiscent of the band Red, but maybe not as good as Red, and that's like, I was like, oh no. So the first song, I'm like, all right, it kind of reminds me of Rise to Remain, but then they put out the second track, and I was like, uh-oh. So this isn't the same band anymore. This is not, they said, I remember this was MySpace and Facebook days. It says, hey guys, we're no longer Rise to Remain, we are As Lions, which I thought was like, everyone was naming their band Lion at that point, so I was like, uh-oh, we're in for a doozy here. And I will say the record itself isn't amazing compared to like Rise to Remain, but I'm starting to hear a couple more things that I really like about it, and it took me a long time though, because I was gonna say if they're as good as like Red or 10 Years, then I would say like, all right, cool, they have their own special recipe. But there's a couple of good moments on here. It's like, wow, okay, all right, I had a stick up my ass, got it. So there's a couple of moments on here I really enjoyed what this band had to offer sonically, and I was like, all right, maybe I did have a rod up my ass, so maybe I'll stop being so mean about it. But anyway, here's the CD. And I think they really had something special. Like I said, Austin Dickinson's voice. I don't know what he's doing now. I'll be honest with you. I haven't checked. But it'd be interesting to see where the band is at now. But anyway, that's As Lions. I picked it up from Beachside Retro. And kind of glad to have this now to play because it was only like $6. Now, what they did, like I said, they had a Acacia Strain Above Below EP. But I wasn't going to pay $40 for it. Sorry, boys. It's just too much. And, I love this dude's voice. I love the bands he does. I love his music. Stone Sour, Hydrograd, last record we got from Stone Sour, and of course Corey Taylor himself. Really a fun album, man. This is like, I think they came back with a vengeance and really came back with some heavier stuff with this record. I was really happy with the way they tackled this one. I mean, you got Corey Taylor's really gruff, screaming vocals with his melodies. It's a lot of CMF2, not CMF1. I'd say CMF2. Paired with Stone Sour and then Slipknot. It really is everything you'd want from all of his projects together. So, of course, I picked this up. It was only a couple bucks. Really glad to have this on CD finally. And, of course, I've been waiting way too long. I waited way too long to finally pick this up. But, I've been, just, I don't know why. I was so excited for this to come out, and then I didn't buy it like a jackass, and then I've been playing it on Spotify. I was like, we're going to go buy this. And then, of course, I'm trying to not buy everything on Amazon because it ruins some of the fun. I like finding it on the hunt in the wild. And I will be honest with you, nobody had this in the record stores. So I found this at the Barnes & Noble doing a statewide travel. I found it in the Boca Raton Barnes & Noble. It's like a 2-story, really nice Barnes & Noble. Never been in there before. Very, very nice, but very warm. It was a little warm in there that day. They had a big flood in there recently, too. And I saw this for $35, and I figured after all the taxes and fees on Amazon to have it shipped to my house, let's just pick this bad boy up. If you haven't heard this, this is Parasomnia from Dream Theater, their newest record. The first record in a while to feature return of their drummer, Mike Portnoy. And, I know they caught a lot of flack because this looks like it was drawn by AI. The band refuted that claim, said it's not by AI. But I can see why. That kind of looks like it was done by AI, but maybe it wasn't, maybe it is. I don't know. I just think it's a great album. This is more like a melodic horror movie. That's the only way I can explain listening to this album. It's like listening to a melodic horror movie. And I love it. So clear vinyl. It sounds incredible. Double vinyl can be a little irritating sometimes because you have to keep flipping. And there's like 2 songs on each side. And granted, the songs are longer. But no joke. You have to keep flipping to listen to this album. So what I do is I play each side until I hate it, and then I move on. This is the inner packet. They did a phenomenal job with the booklet. I actually need to spend some time and learn the story and actually really spend a lot more time with this because the booklet is sensational. I love this record, this band, James Labrie. Everybody sounds incredible. And it really is. It sounds like a melodic horror movie. It doesn't sound over-processed. It sounds perfectly processed. Everything. Guitars, drums, vocals. Everything was just done very, very well. Notable songs. All of them? No, I'm kidding. But there is like a little bit of outro, intro, interlude stuff because that's, it's Dream Theater. So they do have a little bit of like the intro, outro stuff. But I will say everything on here was good. Are We Dreaming? Night Terror, which is basically your big first track, and it's a little bit longer, but great chorus that everybody can sing along to. So Night Terror, I'd say, is a great place to start if you haven't checked them out already. A Broken Man is outstanding, and Dead Asleep, and all of them are great. Bend the Clock, and then the finale, The Shadow Man Incident. It really is a fun album. I haven't picked up a Dream Theater record in ages, and I knew when I saw this, I was like, all right, we're gonna get a little bit darker, maybe a little bit more horror focused or something scary, spooky. and I said I have to pick it up, and I did, and I'm so glad I did. It really is a great, just a little bit more simpler. There is a little bit of like the musical masturbation thing where they're like, hey, let's play like 19 different chords that are all blues based. We're gonna play everything that's like, you know, minor chords instead of just playing major, blah blah blah. I mean, there's a little bit of the musical masturbation thing, but I would say they did a phenomenal job with this record. I really am happy with it, and I like the melodies. I do like the heavier stuff, a little bit of chuggy chugs, a little bit of moshing stuff in here. So I think they did a great job overall. That is Parasomnia by Dream Theater. Last but not least, Death Collector, Death's Toll. Now, if you haven't heard of these guys, this came out in 2023 off of Prosthetic Records. Comes out on a beautiful red vinyl. And I learned about these guys through Scott Waters on his channel. And, you know, he was talking about picking these guys up. I'm like, Death Collector, that sounds pretty rad. Like, I mean, there was a band recently with Rob Lowe from Solitude Eternus and Candlemass, and there he had Grief Collector, which is another fantastic record. But I was like, Death Collector, let's give it a shot. And I'm very happy with, you know, for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it came out. It's heavy. I would say the vocalist doesn't really step out of his realm too much. I mean, a lot of the songs can, you know, depending on what you're in the mood for, it can get a little samey after a while. But I think for a press like this from a band that's not well known, I would say it's worth giving a shot. See if you like it, try it on Spotify, whatever, or, you know, support the band, whatever you like to do. But I would say there's some fun tracks on here. My favorite one, A Taste of Decor, is probably my favorite song on the track. I'd say that's the one that's the most different, that's got the most guitar work in it, that's not just chugs. I would say that's where the vocalist kind of pushes himself a little bit more. But for the most part, it's Cookie Monster vocals. He stays in his lane, doesn't really jump out of that too much. But it is a fun album, I would say, especially if you're lately, because I've been playing the new Black Ops 6 on just playing zombies, trying to make my, just playing, man. And that's been my stress relief lately, and it's a blast. So I would say this, playing this, and shooting zombies on Black Ops 6 is definitely the way to go. But beautiful red vinyl, custom center labels in the middle. And it is fun. I mean, it wasn't too bad. This was one of those ones where I had to get it on Amazon because I couldn't find it anywhere. But I don't think I paid too much for it. I think I paid $22, $23, which isn't bad. But I'd say it's a funner album if you want to go shred some zombies and just go listen to Cookie Monster vocals and get your rage out, go lift some weights. It's a funner album. And that is it from me, you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time, if you watch this whole video, to actually sit down and talk with me. Just watch me talk about metal and stuff I picked up, especially going back to Melbourne. Like I said, great people, great breweries, great record stores. And, you know, go jam the new Dream Theater. Go jam the new Heaven Shall Burn, which is probably one of the greatest albums of this decade. You know, going back to 2020, I thought Heaven Shall Burn could do no better. And this album is so succinct. You know, it's like 13 tracks, but you have the intros and the outros and all that stuff on it. You got a recreation of a classic Killswitch Engage early Live or Just Breathing era song with Jesse Leach to come back on it. The new Heaven Shall Burn is absolutely incredible. Been playing it nonstop, but we're going to talk about that in a second video. And, you know, man, I had a great time just hanging out in my hometown and just feeling like the Melbourne vibes again. So I hope you guys are doing all right. I hope you guys are taking care of each other. Sorry for the long delay for the long video. We've had a long couple of... It's been a while, huh? It's been a while since I posted the Chimera video, but, you know, hopefully you guys still stuck around. Hopefully you guys still like this page. Like, comment, subscribe. I want to hear from you guys. Let's talk. Let's talk metal. All right? Peace.